Welcome back to Tuesday Talk. It's wonderful to be back in front of everyone. It was interesting. I had something here on my desk, and this was from the agenda of the last planned Tuesday Talk that never happened, and it is dated 3/17. And I had one item. That item has expired and is no longer relevant. But it's been more than 4 months since we had an opportunity to get together. So I'm really excited to be back and looking forward to spending half an hour with you. I wanted to get started with a cute cartoon. This is the 5 thoughts of the day, and it's probably, you're sick of it, but it is the one thing that is absolutely critical as we move forward in maintaining good social distancing and the appropriate way to wear or not wear a mask. And Lauren has found this. It's our friend Fido, and on the left-hand side, he is properly wearing his mask. On the right-hand side, he is showing all the ways that you should not wear your mask. Oops. So thank you, Fido, and right-hand side, he's showing all the appropriate ways to wear a mask. You must raise it up over your nose. It does no good if you have pulled it off your face or even taken it off and hung it from your ear. So I've seen all of those, but the appropriate way to wear it is Fido on the left. So thank you, Fido. So we are entering, if you watched the show yesterday, I sort of alluded to it, but I want to tell you where we were as a community. And Don, if you will go to that Excel slide right down there at the bottom, thank you. This is the form that we have to submit on a weekly basis. And this is how we make application to move forward. And as you know, the reopening of America, there are 3 phases and there are sections within those phases. Phase 1 had 12 sections. We were stuck for about 45 days on section 11 of phase 1. And we are really excited to announce that we have now moved to phase 2, section 1. And so we officially are in phase 2. You may recall that our stated goal was to run about 2 weeks behind where Governor DeSantis was. He went into phase 2 for the state of Florida back on June 1st, which means that we should have gone into phase 2 around that same time. We did not, and just there's been an outbreak in Pinellas County and in the state and across the nation. And so just as Governor DeSantis delayed his moving forward, we also delayed our ability to move forward. And so as we make these decisions as to when it's safe to move forward and what do we need to do to make sure we're protecting residents, there is a form that has actually been developed. And this is an internal private form. It's an LCS form, but the information contained within it comes from the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, and the CMS, the Center for Medicare Studies, along with the Department of Health. And so all of these agencies have worked together to come up with criteria on how you can move forward and move from one section to the next within the different phases. And so until recently, last Thursday, we had failed in a lot of these categories, and it was preventing us from moving forward. And so I thought it just might be interesting this morning. Let me figure out how to turn that off. Cut that, please. I thought it might be interesting this morning to take a look at this and share with you exactly how this decision is made. I'm going to step out into the audience so I can sort of talk into the back of the recording device. It makes it a little clearer for the people who are watching at home. So here's the first level. It's the 0 active and pending resident cases, and this is across all levels of care. That's important because we are a CCRC. So in a continuing care retirement community, you have to have good numbers in all categories. So you can see that over the last 7 days, we've had no new cases in IL, no new cases in assisted living, and no new cases in skilled nursing. Before you are able to move from one stage to the next, you must have 7 consecutive days with straight zeros across all levels of care. We've had one new case. It was an associate in the last 14 days tested positive, and the last day for that exposure was 7/15. So we were waiting for that associate to clear in order to move into the next the phase. In order to clear, you must have either a negative test or you must have 10 days without symptoms and without the use of a fever controlling medicine like ibuprofen or Tylenol. And so that person cleared back on 7/25, and we were able to move forward. Here are the state and county numbers that drive this decision. You have to have a downward trajectory of documented county cases. This is what they call the case pop. And so it's a rolling 14-day period, and you can see that our number is 1.15. And so we have to, it's not as important what that number is as is the fact that it is declining. It has to have a downward trajectory over a 14-day period. And so we met that back on the 25th. The next stage is you have to have county case rate is less than benchmark, and that's the cases in Pinellas County. And we have had, over the last 14-day period, there have been 8 new cases in Pinellas County, and so we met that benchmark. It was less than the infection rate, which is currently running about 10.14%. Death rate in the state is less than benchmark. Florida has seen some improvement. We're not green, but we're also not red. We're yellow, which means it's caution, but that allowed us to pass. And then the COVID case rate in the state is less than benchmark. You can see that we were red, and you might ask, well, how'd you move forward if you were red? And the answer to that is we looked at the demographics, and the number of new cases, that's what we're tracking in this benchmark. The number of new cases are not happening in our age group, not in our population demographic. It's happening in a younger population and not the specific population that we serve here at Regency Oaks. So we were able to move forward. Here is the International Health Metrics projection date on when we will be out of phase 2 and moving to phase 3. So you can see that's several months. One of the things that we've learned as we've gotten more experienced is we're more cautious. So it used to be that the governor or the president would come on TV and say, not to worry, in another week everything will be good, we'll be back to normal. And that's probably not the case. And so we've just seen a little bit more conservative approach in these numbers because we've seen a pretty large explosion. The one last thing that I just wanted to do, I do it every day, and so I wanted to share the numbers for the state of Florida. We are up about 9,000 cases in the state of Florida, and our hospitalization rate here in Pinellas County, we have 1,316, 270 individuals in our specific zip code. For those of you who might not know, BayCare is our designated countryside. is our designated COVID treatment facility for this area of Pinellas County. So we monitor their in-house census every single day, because that's going to dictate how successful we are in controlling an outbreak. Because if we overwhelm the emergency, first responders, acute care beds in the area, they're not going to be able to accommodate needs within the community. And so their capacity, they're running right at about 50% capacity. They have not been overwhelmed. They've never gotten too much higher than, there was a couple of days where they were up at about 70% capacity. They've probably averaged 30% throughout this entire thing. So our healthcare professionals and our first responders really have done a tremendous job in taking care of our COVID residents and making sure that they have the resources necessary to stop the spread of this disease and keep residents safe. Okay. One other thing that I did want to mention on COVID, we are still not allowing families access to the interiors of either buildings. And you've heard me talk on the broadcast in the past. Our approach has been a castle and moat defense, and it sort of goes back to medieval days. If you build a wall and don't let anyone in, you're going to be safe. And so we still are not allowing families to come in. We do have the ability to make a couple of exceptions that I wanted to share with you. The first is we've had a number of residents who depend on adult children or financial planners to assist them with tax returns or paying their bills or just assisting with the checkbooks. And so we do have a means by which we can help you with that. My office is available at night and on weekends for your use. And so how we can set that up is your family member can come through the north front door and go to my office using the back doors. They'll be escorted by front desk staff. They never have access to the lobby of the building. They go in a back door. They must be masked. They must be screened. They must successfully pass a temperature check. The resident can come in through my front door under the same circumstances, and you're welcome to use my conference table so that you have an opportunity if you have to meet with adult children and it's a necessity to assist with a financial issue or something of that nature. I want to make sure you know that that service is available. The other thing that we are allowing at this point is your family members to visit with you on the grounds of Regency Oaks, as long as it's the perimeter grounds and not the interior grounds. The one thing we all know, and you've seen this in many reports, is it's a lot safer to be outdoors than it is indoors. And so we are allowing families to visit on the exterior perimeter outdoor locations, excluding the alfresco dining, the grill on the breezeway, and the decks. Okay, let's get away from COVID. Wow, no, one more COVID thing. I want to talk about this thing right here. This is a UV ultraviolet light machine, and this is what the president made famous by suggesting that if you could figure out how to ingest that, it would probably kill the COVID or exposure in your body. And he was sort of right. I'm not sure about the ingestion part. But this piece of equipment, we bought 2 of these things. These were pretty expensive. They were about $26,000 bucks. Wow. But this is the latest in fighting COVID. It's a UV light. And our first community, I'll just share a quick story. Our first community that tried it, you can put it in an apartment, get everybody out of the apartment, and run it for about 10 minutes. and it will kill every form of life in that apartment. Virus, bugs, goldfish, and plants. And we found out because we killed some lady's poor goldfish and destroyed all her plants. So one of the concerns, and this thing was developed, it's just amazing when you think about American technology. One of the things that happened is hospitals and nursing homes across the country were really struggling with trying to sanitize and disinfect areas that had been exposed to COVID. And no matter what chemicals you use and how hard you scrub, you can't get everything. And so they were having reoccurrence rates. So technology came along and they've introduced this UV light. And so we set it up in your apartment. You have to vacate your apartment. We have to lock out your doors so that no one can get access. You have to pull all your blinds and your shades and maybe tape the corners. It will blind you if you look at it. And so it has to run for about 10 minutes, another 10-minute cool down cycle, and it will kill any bacteria, virus, that might be in an apartment, a hospital room, a nursing home bed. And so we invested in 2 of these and think that was ultimately something that's probably going to pay big dividends. It's a UV light machine. Okay, let's look at some other things going on here in the community. The pool is almost done. The mirrors have now been hung, and the gas line finally got cleared by the city. The building inspector came out and cleared the line. They buried it. There's two last things we're waiting on. The pool overhead lights over the kitchen area are not working for some reason. It's a power issue. We got an electrician coming to look at that. There's a sailcloth that is going to be going over the cooking areas so that if the guys are out there in inclement weather, they can still produce food and be a little bit more comfortable and not be doing that in the blazing heat. And then Ricky has ordered, he's really excited about this, has ordered a pizza oven so that he's going to be able to do true Neapolitan pizzas. I'm not even sure what it is, but he is fired up about it. So that's going to happen here in the next week. It's been ordered. We're just waiting for an install. So here is, we have gotten approved for this year's capital budget. We have gotten approved a reseal and painting of the community. This is important because how many of you have had a complaint that your exterior lanai leaks? Any of you? Okay, well, there are a lot of you. And what has happened is it's been almost 10 years since we painted these buildings, and the caulking on all these lanais and the banding and the gingerbreading is beginning to leak. The caulk and the seal is just giving way, and so it's time to re-caulk, seal, and paint our buildings. And these are the 2 color schemes that we're looking at. In the little inlet here, you can see that's the existing building, and we're looking at this choice, which is a blue body with a sort of a beige top, and then here is a gray body with a lighter gray top. The one difference that the recommendation came back with is that instead of using white for all the banding, that we use a dark color. It helps it to stand out. So these are going to be in the lobby of both the north and the south building, giving you an opportunity to take a look at them, give us your input, tell us what you like, what you don't like. And so these will go out today. The project is scheduled to start this week, but we don't have to make a paint decision for a couple of weeks. The first couple of weeks will be power washing and fixing some of the gutters, and then they'll come back and do the sealing and the caulking. So the actual putting the paint on the buildings, we're still some time away from. So take a look and share your input on that. A lot of changes going on in home health and our therapy department. I just wanted to make sure you had heard about that. We have severed our relationship with Brookdale Home Health. That was the agency that had been serving Regency Oaks for the last 7 years. And we're going to go to an in-house provider. All of our therapy services, our physical therapy services, are going to be provided by Dave, who is the therapy director over in our skilled nursing center. Now, he has a group of therapists. The primary therapist that they're looking at to assign to Regency Oaks is Mike. How many of you know Mike? Yeah. So if you've been over to the nursing home, you know Mike, and we're really, we think that's a great choice. I'm really pleased with that. The actual home health services, if you need an RN or if you need a Medicare covered CNA, we're looking at going back to Stacy's company. Do any of you remember Stacy? She was a previous home health director of Sylvan Home Health back before Brookdale. And so when Brookdale came in and they brought in their own home health agency, she went along with Grace, who is the RN. Both of them are still in place. They went and formed a company called Grace Home Health Services, and they've been operating consistently for the 7 or 8 years since they left Brookdale. So we are looking at contractually entering into an agreement for Stacy and Grace to come back and provide those services. And then that would provide RN, CNA, occupational therapy, and speech therapy through a third-party contractual arrangement. So that is getting ready to happen. One other piece of news, and this is fresh off the press. Don't tell anyone because I haven't told Leslie. It's on my agenda today. But we have sold the apartment where the therapy gym is and Leslie is office. So we're going to be relocating Leslie's office and the therapy gym. So look for more information on that as it develops. Worked here at Regency Oaks for, gosh, I think I'm going on year 16, so she must be going on year 15. She has worked here on and off multiple times. She has tendered her resignation again, but it's a good thing. She is accepted a promotion within LCS, and she is going to go and be the regional support person for Sherry. And so you'll recall that under Jill Sorensen, there are 2 vice presidents. One is Mary Mackey and the other is Jill Sorensen, and they split the Health Peak portfolio. They each have half. And Mary has Philip Rutledge, that's our regional support, and Sherry had a vacancy, and she was smart enough to come and hire Amy to provide regional support for her team. So it's sad that we're losing Amy, but it's really exciting to see her get an opportunity to advance her career and stay within the company and continue to do outstanding work. She has been such a phenomenal gift and a blessing to Regency Oaks, and we all wish her well. We'll have an opportunity to say goodbye and to meet the individual replacing her. His name is Perry Goodbar. What a name, right? And Perry is, I'm excited to have Perry on board. I think he's going to be a great fit with our organization. He is coming from Saddlebrook, where he has been for the last 5 or 6 years, the Director of Sales and Marketing. Prior to that, he was at the Broadmoor, a very upscale hotel in Colorado Springs, where he had a similar role. So he has lots of sales experience. He's a very personable guy. He is a great culture and motivational fit with our organization, and I couldn't be happier to have him join us. His start date is tomorrow. So we got real fortunate. He had been furloughed, laid off. As you can imagine, the hotel business is not doing real well right now. And so he was employed but not getting a paycheck. And so he did not have to give a 30 or 60-day notice. He was available immediately. And I said, "When can you start, Perry?" And he said, "Tomorrow." So he's gone through his background screening, and he's ready to go. He'll be in Foundations on Wednesday and Thursday, and then we'll start to orient him to the campus and take him out and start introducing him around. So look for Perry Goodbar, and he's going to be a great fit. We have engaged the services of Holleran. It's a third-party audit specialist to do an associate survey. It's a satisfaction or engagement survey. You should be very familiar with Holleran. They have done the resident surveys for, gosh, I think 7, 8 years. And so I share this because although there has not been an official announcement about a resident engagement survey, I am anticipating that that's something that is going to happen in the next 6 to 8 months, and it's going to be a Holleran survey. So Holleran is the company that LCS engages, and we're very familiar with that, and so it is going to be a little different than what we've been using under the Brookdale system. We used Holleran back under the LCS days and SHP days. And you'll recall that Brookdale used more of the J.D. Powers database, where it had that crazy scoring system where if you voted 7 or 6, it was the same as voting 0. Remember that? So I can think that maybe that is going to go away, and we'll come back to a more traditional scoring method. So as changes occur there, I'll keep you up to date. As you leave today, Lauren has a couple of cards that if you'd like to sign, we'd encourage you to do that. Sharon Borak, who is the longest tenured associate at Regency Oaks, she's been here 30 years. Oh, 30 years. She is retiring. She has worked for a lot of different jobs over the last 30 years. She started as a housekeeper, became the housekeeping director, went into nursing for a few years. We promoted her to central supply clerk. She eventually became central supply director, and she has done that for the last 15 years. She has just been a true blessing for our skilled nursing team over there. I don't know how we're ever going to make it without her, but she is retiring. And so there are some cards over here if you'd like to sign your name and wish her well. Sharon Warwick. Hurricane supplies, just an update. If you ordered hurricane supplies, we had maybe 30 of you who did. Those supplies should be in later this week, first of next week, and we will get those distributed. Brain Fitness, Dr. Scranton. You'll recall he's been here numerous times. We still have a number of residents who participate in his brain fitness program. He is going to be attending a Tuesday talk, I think week after next, to give you an update on some of the results that he's had. We've been tracking his numbers for 3-4 years, and he's just really been a phenomenal record of success in helping our residents improve cognitive function, and he's one of the few physicians that I vocally support in a public setting. he does great work, and so look for that in the agenda here in the next couple of weeks. Okay, that is everything on my list, and I'm going to open it up for questions, and Mr. Infante back there is going to help me with the microphones, so if we have any questions.
In order to use your office at night or weekends, should we have a reservation, or how are you going to work that?
Yeah, great question. If you would like to reserve the office, you can call Lauren at extension 302, and she will put it in the day timer and reserve the space for you.
There you go, Bill. Thank you, Don. How are you? Just a brief statement. Now that we can have families on the outside, I would like to offer the Garden Club as an excellent place to get together. We've been improving our seating out there. We can set a whole bunch of people. So if you're available.
We have a picnic table.
Okay.
And the picnic tables, I'll wash off. But weekends are probably the best. There's ample parking out there. Mondays are probably the worst because the grounds crew takes up all the spaces out there. But the Garden Club is a nice place to be.
Thanks, Ron. And just FYI, if you want one of those big tents out there, I'd be happy to set it up for you. If you think about it, let me know.
I just have a question about the machine, the ultraviolet. Does it cover all of the rooms? I mean, you open up the doors and it gets you in your bedroom and kitchen and living room?
So, great question. It does have a square footage, maximum square footage, and it's up to about 800 square feet. And so, because it does its function in 10 minutes, the recommendation is if it's a 2-bedroom apartment, we do it twice, once in the living room, once in the bedroom, or in 2-bedroom, it's in the hallway, so that the exposure is to everything.
Since you've kind of opened up a lot of things, of activities and things, I'm wondering when you're going to open those side doors. That's very inconvenient for me.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I know talking to other people, it's very inconvenient. You know, we never, when it was unlocked before, we never got a virus in here before. So, and I know there's a few people that aren't obeying, but I don't think it's right that some of us that are obeying all the rules have to suffer so much. It's very inconvenient.
So I absolutely understand that it is very inconvenient and it's an annoyance. And I'm sorry, but we are going to continue with the side doors being secured. And I did not have the full support of the residents in trying to go through a single entry, the front door. And as you may or may not know, we're able to track the number of times those doors are open. I don't have a report that tells me specifically who came and whether you were coming or going, but I can tell you the number of times that those side doors were open. And I can share with you that since we locked down the side doors, we've seen a 70% reduction in the number of times that those doors are opened on a daily basis, which means that I've made you 70 times safer than you were with those doors open. So I understand that it's not a popular decision, and I'm going to stand up here and take the heat for that. But as long as these numbers continue to be this high in terms of cases, new cases in the state of Florida, we're going to keep those doors locked. As those numbers begin to stabilize and the curve begins to turn, I'll unlock those side doors. But as long as they still have these high numbers, the number of new cases, we're going to continue to keep those doors locked because it's the safe thing to do, even though it's very unpopular and I know it's inconvenient.
as you know, we've been having some bug problems in our apartment, so I'm really going to press you to see if you can help out in our apartment with that ultraviolet machine, because from what I can tell, that's a really, really big plus. And I don't know how many other people are having problems in their apartment, but I do know that that will be a major help. So when are the training scheduled? When is that going to be a reality for us?
Yeah. So this should be a reality at the end of the week or first of next week. Training will occur this week. You have to be certified in order to use this, because it is very dangerous if you are not careful. And so we want to make sure that we don't injure residents or staff. And Ace, you're absolutely right. One of the unintended consequences of the new technology is it was designed for viruses and bacteria, but it also is a phenomenal pest control because it kills all life forms. And so Ace, you're first up. You can be our trial apartment.
I just bought it in my apartment, not me.
Okay.
And when I have a friend visit, can I buy lunch at the tavern? To eat it outside in the garden like Carter's inviting us?
Sure, if you have a guest visiting in an outdoor perimeter location and wanted to buy lunch in the tavern, and then the two of you, or however many, go and enjoy it in the garden or one of the outdoor benches, absolutely, that's allowable, absolutely. Chat.
What's the plans for putting a pressure pad to open the doors in the pool area?
Yeah, so great question. The question is, what are the plans for putting a remote entry on a pool door? And we will do that. I don't know if Darwin has ordered it. We didn't do it originally because it was not in the plans, and so it would have delayed the process, but we will get that installed.
Come on over, Jay.
Wayne and I are willing to vacate our apartment while it's being cleaned. Is there any, in what foreseeable future will we get a full cleaning in our apartments? This is very inconvenient.
Yeah. So the guidelines say that full housekeeping does not return until phase 3, which is November 15th. So, and so that's the other, there are 3 issues that people ask all the time. So I'm just going to update you on all 3 issues: side door, dining, and housekeeping. And so the rules say that none of that's returning until phase 3, November 15th. We will take this day by day, and as soon as we feel a little more comfortable with the numbers, we will try to get and seek an early approval to release some of this in phase 2. And the housekeeping issue, in case you don't know, there was a great piece that Johanna published in the Oaks a couple of weeks ago, and it was a sideways bar graph. And it had least risky behaviors all the way down to most risky behaviors. And so if you were to put housekeeping somewhere in there, it wasn't, but if you were to rank it, it would be down toward the bottom as a high risk behavior. And the reason for that is it's an exposure, and we are agitating carpets. We're going in there and we're using a beater brush, and we're taking pathogens and spreading them all over the apartment. They lay suspended in your air for up to 6 hours. And so if you have a pathogen that is a virus, we've created a super spreader event inside your apartment, and we're trying to not do that.
About the tavern?
No, tavern is probably going to be one of the last places to open, but I am talking about a sit-down dining on china with silverware and napkins, and what so many residents have shared with me is that they're sick and tired of eating off styrofoam plates in a plastic bag, and I completely understand. We'll know more on Friday, and it will be small groups, but we have a plan in, and we'll just see what happens.
Speaking of bugs and styrofoam, etc., this was published in the Oaks also. And there are a lot of people that don't really go online and see it. Last night I went to the trash. Sorry. Last night I went to put my trash in on the first floor and opened the door, and they were scurrying everywhere, all right? Because people on the upper floors put their trash down. They do not tie it tight the way they do in dining. Dining, when you get your dinner, it's tied tight, all right? And people, they don't wash out the styrofoam or whatever, and they throw it down. There was food on the floor and plenty of bugs. This should be distributed maybe in their mailbox or even with their food.
So absolutely, that is so important. You think about dropping something from a penny off of a fifth floor apartment. It's going to pick up speed, velocity, weight, and when you put volume behind it, it gets even worse. And if you haven't secured that trash bag, and here's what we see: a lot of people take the trash can, they pull the red ties, it's tight, they toss it down the dumpster, but they never tie it. Well, by the time it gets 5 floors later, that speed and volume when it makes impact, and you haven't tied it, that top just comes wide open, and it's a real problem. So help us remind residents to tie those bags. Thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you found this informative. We're delighted to be back, and we're looking forward to seeing you again next Tuesday. Be sure to look for Jesse's Housekeeping Matters tomorrow. On Thursday, Ricky will be here with Dish Talk and Menu Chat. And then on Friday, we're back to the Friday Forum. Everyone have a good day. Thanks very much.